What if I told you that the single biggest barrier to your success isn't your talent, your resources, or your competition? It's the way you think. Most of us operate inside a box of assumptions we don't even know exist. But a select few of visionaries, the innovators, the game changers, have learned how to step outside that box. Their secret isn't magic. It's a specific, learnable mindset. In this video, we're going to hand you the key. The phrase "think different" is more than a classic marketing slogan. It's a profound philosophy for life and work. It's the engine behind every major breakthrough, from the personal computer to revolutionary scientific discoveries. But how do you actually do it? How do you train your brain to see what others miss, to connect dots that seem unrelated, and to pursue ideas that everyone else dismisses as crazy? Today, we're diving deep into the 5 core pillars of the visionary mindset. We'll deconstruct the mental models used by the world's greatest independent thinkers and give you practical, actionable strategies to cultivate this power in your own life. This isn't just about creativity. It's about gaining a fundamental competitive edge in everything you do. If you're ready to break free from conventional thinking and unlock your true potential, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up right now. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Deconstructing the box? The power of first principles thinking. Before you can think outside the box, you must first see the box. Most of our thinking is based on analogy and convention. We do things a certain way because that's how they've always been done. Visionaries, however, operate differently. They use a mental model known as first principles thinking. This means breaking down a complex problem or a system into its most fundamental, irreducible truths and then reasoning up from there. Elon Musk famously used this to revolutionize the space industry. Instead of accepting the high price of rockets as a given, he asked, "What are the raw materials of a rocket?" He discovered the cost of the materials was only a tiny fraction of the final price. The rest was bloat from conventional manufacturing processes. By reasoning from first principles, SpaceX was able to build rockets for a fraction of the cost. So, how can you apply this? Start by questioning everything you believe to be true in your field or your life. Take a core assumption. For example, to be a successful professional, you must work a 9-to-5 job in an office. Is that a fundamental truth or just a convention? The fundamental truth might be, to be a successful professional, you must deliver high-quality value to a client or employer. The how and where are variables, not laws of nature. A practical exercise is the 5 whys. Take a problem or a belief and ask why. 5 times, each answer should dig a layer deeper, stripping away assumptions until you reach the core principle. Let's take the example of a struggling coffee shop owner named Julian. Problem: sales are down. Why? Fewer customers are coming in. Why? Our main competitor is busier. Why? They offer unique seasonal drinks we don't have. Why? Our supplier doesn't offer those syrups. Why? We've used the same supplier for 10 years and never looked for alternatives. Suddenly, the problem isn't sales are down. The root is supplier complacency. By challenging the assumption that he had to stick with his old supplier, Julian can now innovate from the ground up. This process is uncomfortable because it forces you to admit that much of what you take for granted is built on shaky ground. But it's in that discomfort that true innovation is born. The idea blender, mastering associative thinking. Visionaries are masters of connection. They see relationships between ideas, objects, and domains that seem completely unrelated to others. Steve Jobs' fascination with calligraphy, a seemingly useless class he audited in college, later led to the beautiful typography of the first Macintosh. This is associative thinking, the ability to form novel connections between disparate concepts. Our brains are wired to be efficient, creating strong neural pathways for common tasks and thoughts. This is great for survival, but terrible for innovation. To think differently, you must intentionally force your brain to forge new, weaker pathways. One of the most effective ways to do this is through cross-disciplinary consumption. If you're a software engineer, don't just read tech blogs. Read about marine biology, ancient Roman history, or poetry. If you're a financial analyst, study musical theory or architecture. These new inputs provide the raw material for your brain to make unexpected connections. A powerful exercise to train this muscle is the random word technique. Pick a problem you're trying to solve. For instance, how can we improve our team's remote collaboration? Now, open a dictionary to a random page and pick a word. Let's say you get orchestra. Now, force connections. An orchestra has a conductor, a clear leader. It has different sections, specialized roles. All musicians play from the same sheet music, a single source of truth. They practiced intensely before a performance. Preparation is key. This simple exercise might spark ideas like, do we need a clearer project conductor? Or is our sheet music, our project plan clear to everyone? Another example is Dr. Evelyn Reed, a fictional biochemist struggling with drug delivery systems. During a trip to a botanical garden, she became fascinated by how birdseeds stick to clothing. That seemingly random observation, connecting botany to biochemistry, led her to develop a new microbe technology for targeted drug delivery. She blended two unconnected worlds to solve a problem. It's about feeding your mind a diverse diet of information and then giving it the space to digest and form these new, powerful connections. If you're enjoying these practical techniques to rewire your brain for innovation, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to VF Growth Tutorials so you don't miss out on more content like this. We're just getting started. The sanctuary of solitude, the necessity of deep work. In a world that glorifies constant connectivity and collaboration, the idea of solitude can seem counterintuitive, even lazy, yet for visionary thinkers, it is a non-negotiable requirement. Deep, original thought cannot happen in 15-minute increments between meetings and email notifications. It requires sustained, uninterrupted periods of intense concentration. This is what author Cal Newport calls deep work. Think of historical figures. Carl Jung built a literal stone tower, the Bollingen Tower, as a retreat where he could think and write without distraction. Bill Gates is famous for his Think Weeks, where he isolates himself in a cabin with nothing but books and papers to simply read and think. This isn't about being it's about recognizing that different types of work require different environments. Collaborative brainstorming is useful for generating a wide range of ideas, but synthesizing those ideas, finding the hidden gem, and developing it into a robust concept requires solitude. The constant influx of external opinions, social pressures, and digital noise clutters the mind. Solitude creates a mental vacuum where your own subconscious can begin to work, connecting those disparate ideas we just talked about. It's in the quiet moments that the aha insight often strikes. So, how can you integrate this into your hyper-connected life? Start small. Schedule monk mode blocks in your calendar. This is 90 minutes of completely unreachable single-task focus. Turn off your phone, close all irrelevant tabs, and put up a sign if you have to. Treat this time as sacred, as a meeting with your most important client. Another powerful practice is the deliberate walk. Go for a walk without your phone, without music, without a podcast. Just walk and let your mind wander on a specific problem. The combination of light physical activity and mental freedom is incredibly conducive to breakthroughs. Consider the case of a startup founder, Maria Flores. Her team was stuck, unable to solve a critical scaling issue. After weeks of frantic group meetings that went nowhere, se declared a no meetings Friday and instructed everyone, including herself, to spend the day thinking about the problem alone and to document their thoughts. By Monday, 2 different team members had independently arrived at a similar, unconventional solution that had never surfaced during the Chiari group sessions. They needed the sanctuary of solitude to see the path forward. The beginner's mind. The power of insatiable curiosity. As we gain expertise in a field, a dangerous bias can set in. The curse of knowledge. We become so familiar with the established rules, processes, and jargon that we lose the ability to see things from a fresh perspective. We stop asking fundamental questions because we assume we already know the answers. Visionaries actively fight this by cultivating what Zen Buddhism calls shu, or the beginner's mind. A beginner's mind approaches every situation with the curiosity, openness, and lack of preconceptions of someone seeing it for the first time. They ask the stupid questions that experts are often too proud to ask. They are not afraid to say, "I don't understand. Can you explain that to me like I'm 5? This is a superpower. When you approach a problem with a beginner's mind, you don't carry the baggage of the way things are done. This allows you to spot flawed assumptions and opportunities that are invisible to the expert. An example is Ilara Vance, an urban planner tasked with improving her city's public transit system. Instead of starting with traffic data and engineering reports, she adopted the beginner's mind. For a month, she lived the life of different citizens. She tried navigating the system in a wheelchair with 3 young children. And as someone who didn't speak the primary language, the expert solution was to optimize bus schedules by 3%. Ilara's beginner's insight was that the biggest problem was the last 50 feet, the lack of clear signage, broken curb cuts, and confusing payment systems that made the system hostile to its most vulnerable users. Her solutions were cheaper and had a far greater impact. How do you cultivate this? First, actively seek out new experiences. Travel, take a class in a subject you know nothing about, or volunteer for a different department at your company. Second, practice reverse mentoring. Find someone younger or less experienced in your field and ask them to explain how they see things. Their naivety can be a powerful lens to reveal your own biases. Finally, make it a habit to ask why 3 times about even the most mundane processes in your work. Why do we fill out this report? Because management needs it. Why does management need it to track our team's KPIs? Why are these specific KPIs the most important? You'll be amazed at how often the final answer is simply, "I'm not sure." Actually, that's where the opportunity lies. We're almost at the end, and if you've made it this far, you are clearly committed to your growth. Show that commitment by subscribing and liking the video so you don't miss our next deep dive. Now, for our final, crucial pillar, the armor of resilience, navigating inevitable misunderstanding. Here is the hardest truth about thinking differently. You will be misunderstood. Your ideas will be called naive, impractical, or just plain wrong. You will face resistance from colleagues, skepticism from superiors, and perhaps even ridicule. Every visionary in history, from Galileo to the Wright brothers, was initially dismissed by the experts of their time. This is not a possibility, it is a certainty. Therefore, the final and most critical pillar of the visionary mindset is resilience. This isn't about having thick skin or ignoring all feedback. It's about developing a sophisticated filter. It's the ability to distinguish between constructive criticism that can refine your idea and reflexive rejection born from a fear of change. Visionaries develop a strong internal compass. Their conviction is not based on external validation, but on their deep understanding of the problem they are solving, derived from their first principles thinking. They are in love with the problem, not their first solution. This allows them to pivot their solution based on valid feedback without abandoning their core mission. Consider the story of Marcus Bell, the inventor of a revolutionary low-cost water purification system. His early prototypes were crude and unconventional. At investor meetings, he was literally laughed out of the room. "It looks like a toy," one told him. "This will never scale," said another. A less resilient person would have given up, but Marcus wasn't attached to his prototype. He was obsessed with the problem of providing clean water. He listened to the valid critiques about durability. Isa Busand ignored the dismissive laughter. He spent years iterating, living in communities that needed his device, and refining it based on their real-world feedback. Today, his toy provides clean water to millions. Building this resilience requires you to reframe failure. For a visionary, there is no failure, only data. A rejected idea is data. A flawed prototype is data. A critical comment is data. It's all information that helps you iterate toward a better solution. It also requires finding a small support system, a mastermind group or a mentor who understands your vision and can provide encouragement when external validation is scarce. Without this armor of resilience, even the most brilliant idea will wither under the relentless pressure of convention. So, let's bring it all together. Thinking different isn't a mystical gift bestowed upon a chosen few. It is a disciplined, intentional practice built on 5 key pillars. First, you deconstruct problems to their core truths with first principles thinking. Second, you master associative thinking by connecting disparate ideas. Third, you embrace solitude and deep work as your creative sanctuary. Fourth, you constantly cultivate a beginner's mind, full of curiosity. And finally, you build the armor of resilience to withstand the inevitable pushback. This path is not easy. It requires courage, discipline, and a willingness to be misunderstood, but it is the only path to true innovation, meaningful problem solving, and unlocking your highest potential. If this video sparked a new idea or a new perspective for you, please show your support by hitting that like button, subscribing to VF Growth Tutorials, and ringing the notification bell. And now, I want to hear from you. What is one assumption in your life or work that you will start questioning after watching this? Drop your answer in the comments below. Share this video with a friend or colleague who needs this message, and let's build a community of independent thinkers.